Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, December 29th, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. On the show today, news, surveys, and in listener questions, buckle up, nerds, it's math with charts and graphs. Then in our main segment, Jim gives us the history of EPCOT's classic Magic Journeys film. Let's get started by bringing in the man who says a bag of snacks that is not resealable contains exactly 1 serving by definition. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
It is going well, Len, but keying off of your notation there, I did a little research this morning. It turns out the concept of snack-sized actually dates back to 1902. It was introduced with Barnum's Animal Crackers, you know, those little, that box.
Oh, the little boxes?
There we go. That evidently, you know, and the notion was they were sold at the circus, and the notion is this is just enough to keep a kid happy sitting in the grandstands, till the circus is over. And
because you remember the little boxes had the little piece of string, like a little carrying case on them.
They did. You know, so that's fantastic. The whole notion. You would buy it outside the big top, go inside, and then sit there and taunt the elephants by eating one. It's like, ooh,
exactly.
Look, you're going down, Jumbo. You know, so.
I didn't know that. How about that? We've learned something today, Jim, about ourselves, each other, circus treats. All right.
That's your bit of pointless information for the day, folks. Okay, now, moving on.
Moving on to more pointless information. Here we go. All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to our subscribers. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, including Zach Harward, Eric Lancy, Michelle Murray, Chris Taylor, Ryan Williams, and Mark Desalon. Jim, these are the Jungle Navigation Company engineers who've got a new method to ensure the shipments of live piranha don't get opened accidentally. Unfortunately, these new instructions were printed at the bottom of the crate holding the piranha, but Ms. Murray, known to friends as Lefty, assures everyone that with the element of surprise, it's possible to dip your head very quickly in the tank and get the gist of the instructions before most of the fish even know what's happening. True story.
Oh, wow. Lefty. Well, okay. All right.
And we continue on.
There we do.
On to the news. Folks, the Disney Dish News is sponsored by UnlockedMagic.com from our friends at DVCRentalStore.com. It's time to start planning your 2026 vacations, and our friends at UnlockedMagic.com can help. They've got special discounts on Disney and Universal theme park tickets, including savings of $50 or more per person on 4-day Disney World tickets. The process is really easy, and the tickets show up in MDE really fast. So visit UnlockedMagic.com to save big in 2026. All right, Jim, the news. It is peak holiday season in the parks. Mm-hmm. In fact, Laurel and I are headed out on today, Christmas Eve, to Animal Kingdom because it's open past dark. Because, you know, it gets dark at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. Mm-hmm. So we are actually headed out to Animal Kingdom on Christmas Eve to see Animal Kingdom at night.
Wow. Well, at the very least, enjoy the Merry Menagerie there just at the foot of the Tree of Life. I honestly think that that's one of the most charming things that they do at the Disney Resort for the holiday season these days. You know, they are just the people who work those puppets in the street there are just great at their job, and they're beautifully crafted.
Yeah, it's a really well done set of holiday decorations and live entertainment. We also went to the last Jollywood Nights on December 22nd, and I think, Jim, this is my favorite holiday event in Walt Disney World. I like Jollywood better than I like Mickey's Very Merry.
And that would have nothing to do with the alcohol that is served up by the Tower of Terror?
It didn't actually, although I did partake.
Okay.
So they had a live jazz band doing Christmas carols and dancing and everything. And Laurel and I actually dressed up for this. Mm-hmm. So I wore a dress shirt with a bow tie and a sparkly vest. Oh. You could see it from space. It was that bright.
Wow. Okay. So my thinking here is that, again, longtime listeners of the show will remember when we had Chrissy on after the first Jollywood Nights, which
Oh, yeah.
was kind of an Andrea Doria experience, but it seems to have found its way now, right?
Yeah, that first one was rough, but they've seemed to have fixed it since then. They've spread out the entertainment quite a bit. Some of the live musicians have moved around to different parts of the park now. So remember, Jim, they had a Latin band. And at the very beginning of last year, when they did Jollywood, was it last year or the year before? They were on that street where Commissary Lane, where ABC Commissary was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then they moved it to Animation Courtyard, but Animation Courtyard's now closed. So they were over by Rock and Roller Coaster, which kind of felt right for that particular set of entertainment, being over by Rock and Roller Coaster. That was good.
Well, cool. Oh, again, glad you got out for the last one of the season, and I guess now we can anticipate Jollywood Nights returns for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it didn't. The other interesting thing to note around the Walt Disney World Resort for the holidays is Lightning Lane Premier Pass continues to sell out even at the highest prices of the year. So the Magic Kingdom Gym is selling Premier Pass at $449 per person. And it is sold out for 11 straight days until January 2nd. Epcot, also at the highest prices of the year, sold out for 9 straight days. Hollywood Studios, 10 straight days. Animal Kingdom, the only days that it hasn't sold out was the 25th and 26th as of, recording. But we still have time for those to sell out. But yeah, I mean, Premier Pass at those prices, still selling out.
Well, that tells you about the, again, what's interesting always about Walt Disney World is, people who are making, that once in a lifetime vacation and, and they want that experience. So even at $449 for Lightning Lane at the Magic Kingdom. Wow.
I mean, the funny thing is I paid that for Premier Pass in Disneyland. Now, granted, that's 2 parks instead of 1. But I think I said this on the show. I would do it again. Like, 'cause I had basically 1.5 days in Disneyland with Hannah, and I was trying to make the most of it, the weekend before Thanksgiving. And so it was $900 for 2 people for Lightning Lane, but it was totally worth it. I would do it again. I understand the appeal at those prices, but, I think this is probably, Jim, the last year at which we are going to see those prices. All right, Jim, last little bit of, news. Also sad news from last week. Disney Imagineer Eddie Sato passed away at the age of 67. Originally hired by Tony Baxter for Disney in 1986. One of Eddie's first projects was Main Street USA and Disneyland Paris. Other projects include master planning for Tokyo Disneyland, the Indiana Jones Adventure attraction in Disneyland's Adventureland, Pal Mickey, and designs for Epcot's Mission Space. Jim, you knew Eddie, right?
I did. He was always lovely. I still to this day remember we had lunch once at the Tam O'Shanter, and he was telling me his version of the original version of Mission Space, and it was almost a religious experience. It was going to be so cool. Do we have a sec to talk about that, or?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. Well, Eddie's version was you left Cape Canaveral, you were flying up to a space station that was in geosynchronous orbit over Earth, and you suddenly lost power. And, and the thing is that you're now adrift in space. And what ends up happening, you're in the capsule and you can actually look out through the window back at Earth, this beautiful blue-green ball, as you hear the air hissing out of your capsule. All right. Okay. And you're watching the window ice over. And it's like you're literally, I'm going to die. And then, just when it seems the bleakest, you hear clunk, you hear footprints on the outside, or footsteps on the outside of your craft, and suddenly in the window is this face of a female astronaut who says, "Don't worry, we got you." And the next thing you know, you're towed to the space station. But it was so human. And in fact, that was the Eddie formula. Eddie once explained to me that, if you take something dangerous but remove the element of death, that's fun. That was Eddie.
Yeah. It's a great point. Yeah. The tagline for that version of Mission Space would have to be, "You've never been so happy to see Gina Torres in your entire life."
Yes.
I mean, the slogans just write themselves.
They do.
So we were talking to Eddie even while he was in the hospital. I mean, he seemed like he was in good spirits right up until the the end. I mean, we were trying to get him on the show and everything, but he was also still interested in doing design work for Disney.
Yeah.
So I signed an NDA, so I can't tell you what was the thing that we were talking about, folks. But it's an item Eddie designed for the parks that is so fabulous it keeps getting stolen by guests. And Eddie was really proud of it too, because he designed and built the things himself. And I happened to mention it to him that, the thing is now not left out for guests anymore because it keeps getting stolen. I will say that it was mostly metal and glass, and the metal parts were formed through a lost wax casting process, which makes every one of the items unique. And then the glass, Eddie said, couldn't be sourced from Asia. He wasn't happy with the quality. So he's describing, he's like, I called this glass blower I know in LA, that I could work with. And I was like, that is the most Imagineering thing ever, that you happen to know a glass blower in LA that can do the thing for you correctly. So yeah, but that was him. I mean, he cared about the details and he cared about the process, and the outcome reflected all of that care. So that was good. He will be missed. He will be missed. Super nice guy.
By the way, folks, if you want to learn more about Eddie Sato, Jim Schul over on his Disney Journey YouTube channel this week is putting together a tribute. He and Eddie worked together for decades, and he has some absolutely lovely stories of their time together and Imagineering and their collaboration. So please check that out.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
Cool.
All right, Jim, on to surveys. Liz sent in an Animal Kingdom survey with this question. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statement? The inability to find available shaded seating had a negative impact on our visit to Disney's Animal Kingdom. And Liz points out that Animal Kingdom has the best shading of any park. So what would you do to improve it? And I'm going with Jim, do they bring in Divine and put Divine on an all carbohydrate diet to bulk up and then have them hang over by some park benches? What do you do there? Do you put the really bulky animals over by benches?
Wow. I have to ask, what exactly are they talking about? I mean, are we talking about the old outdoor arena that they built for Rivers of Light? Where exactly is somebody that exposed to the sun at Animal Kingdom?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because if you think about seating areas, the place that you and I were at last together was over by Flame Street Barbecue, but almost all of that is covered. Yeah, right? And that's fantastic seating. Yeah. I'm trying to think of where you would go in Animal Kingdom to be sitting in the sun, other than, to your point, the old Rivers of Light seating area. But for that, you kind of know what you're getting into.
I guess. But again, I guess, you and I have talked about this in the past. Disney doesn't put out a survey unless they're looking for a certain result. So it's who put this out and why were they asking that question?
Right. Yeah. I'd love to know. All right. Let's keep an eye out for results coming out of that survey. All right. On to listener questions. This one's from Eric, who says, in regards to the meet and play concept and the new DCL ship that you guys talked about last week, I wonder how much of that was pushed for the preview promoter crowd as compared to what will be out there for the unwashed masses eventually. I keep thinking about how the Galaxy's Edge area was supposed to have characters that would appear based on your game activity. I interacted with the blue-haired, orange-jacketed woman one time, but apparently that tapered off rapidly after the initial release. All right. So, Eric, apparently I'm the only person who still greets people in the parks with bright suns in Galaxy's Edge, but I do know what you're talking about, and I think, that's definitely one probable explanation. The big difficulty with doing a Star Cruiser-like experience on an actual cruise ship is, I think, Jim, the sheer number of people on board, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Star Cruiser had 250 people tops?
If that, yep.
And the average Wish-class Disney ship is probably sailing with at least 3,200, upwards of 4,000. So we're talking about, 10 to 12 times the number of people that Disney has to keep track of and keep entertained. I don't think that's possible without specialized infrastructure, and I don't think that Destiny has that specialized infrastructure. So yeah, this could have just been something for the media. We'll see.
Okay. All
right. Here's an email from Abigail who says, "Hi, Lena and Jim. Happy Solstice, Festivus, New Year, etc., etc. I'm trying to convince and cajole my friends to do an Epic Universe girls trip over Memorial Day weekend and tack on one day at Epcot. I've taken to calling it EPCOT because I crack myself up."
Okay, you cracked us up too. Okay,
exactly.
I like that. Okay.
We do Epcot on Memorial Day itself, and stay at Deluxe Resort Crescent Lake for easy access and the ability to take advantage of both early entry and extended evening hours, plus the very end of my favorite Epcot Fest Flower and Garden. I think we can get away with no Lightning Lane multipass because of this, but I'm kind of obsessed with getting Everybody Who Wants to Rule the World specifically on Cosmic Rewind, and I'd be interested in writing it multiple times to increase our chances. So single pass might make sense. My question is this: has Touring Plans done any research into the best return times for single pass? Good question. Okay, so I think the best return time here, Abigail, is likely to be the time at which you have the shortest wait for the ride, because the attraction's indoors, so it's not like the experience is different at night, right? Return times are shortest in the first 15 minutes Guardians is open, and then the last hour the ride is open. And Jim, I actually put a chart in the show notes where I looked at data from only the last 18 months using actual waits that we've captured for just Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm using 18 months because that's around the time that Disney changed its DAS rules. And we all know that wait times have changed since then. So the chart shows on the x-axis the number of minutes the park is open. And then there are two lines. The blue line is the actual wait average for that particular time. And then the red dots are the posted wait times. So the interesting thing there, the other interesting thing with the chart is, what's the relationship in general between the actual wait and the posted wait at different times of the day? And there's a second chart in the show notes that shows you that. So Epcot usually opens around 8:30 a.m. for early theme park entry. That's not true for other parks, but because it is true for other parks, instead of time of day, it's often more useful to measure things based on how many minutes the park has been open. So the x-axis in these graphs is number of minutes the park has been open. So as an example, for Guardians of the Galaxy, we've collected 143 actual wait times just in the first 15 minutes the ride is open since middle of last year. Some of those actual wait times have been as little as 70% of the posted wait. Others have been 60% more than the posted wait. And the gray bars in the chart are the 95th percentile confidence interval. So suppose, like me, you wanted to estimate the actual wait and you only know the posted. This is why it's useful. You have 143 samples for that first 15-minute time slice, ranging from 70 to 160% of the posted wait. So what number between 70 and 160% do you go with? There are three options. I've posted them in the graph. The red dots represent the average of all the actual to posted weights in that time slice. So half will be lower and half will be higher. It's actually the median. So for the first 15 minutes the park is open, the actual weight is like 90% of the posted. And Jim, incidentally, I mentioned this because I think that's the number that Disney is trying to hit with the posted, where they're picking the posted wait time so that roughly half of your actual weights are going to be above that number and half are going to be below it.
Okay.
And that's an interesting choice, right? Because if you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, which is, I think, the way that Disney used to do it, you could use the green dots on the graph, which represent 2/3 of the actual weights, the 63rd percentile, essentially. So roughly 2/3 of the actual weights will be less than that. In that case, if you were estimating your actual weight, it'd be 105% of the posted weight. So by a tiny bit. And if you wanted to be even more conservative, you could use the blue dots in the graph, which are the 75th percentile. In that case, you're going to weight around 20% more than the posted weight. So then the next question, of course, is you have to pick a number. What number do you pick? And there are pros and cons to each of those approaches. The higher you estimate, so the more pessimistic you are, the more likely it is that guests are going to weight less than that number. And that's good from a guest satisfaction perspective. But the downside is that if you're trying to plan out your day, using that pessimistic approach is going to make it look like you can do fewer attractions than you probably can, because the wait time estimates are large, right? So yeah, there are pros and cons to that, but that's sort of like how we're doing it over at Touring Plans these days. So Abigail, to answer your question, first 15 minutes and the last hour, the park is open. Now, granted, the last hour might not be enough time for you to do multiple rides, because it probably takes about 30 minutes to get through the attraction. So if you wanted to say the last 3 hours the park is open, that's when you're going to start to see wait times dip the most after the initial wait. So last 3 hours the park is open should give you enough time to get everybody wants to rule the world at least once.
And I guess the wild card here, and I would love to have somebody who actually works at Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind I just flat out answer the question. Are the songs in fact random, or do they know, for example, when they're loading you up, what song you're about to get? As you because that could change the equation here. If there's an insider for Cosmic Rewind that can actually talk to us about how often, whether or not it is in fact random, or whether or not certain songs come up more frequently than others. And to bring it full circle to what you mentioned, Abigail and her friends, are going to get their steps in, because this just seems, seems to me to be one of the longest queues that Disney's ever done. Though we can't share how Len and I know this, but the queue for Encanto coming up next year, that's going to be impressive too.
A third of a mile long. Almost exactly, like down to the foot. Very, very, very close.
There we go.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. So, we're going to go from we don't talk about Bruno to we talk a lot about leg cramps.
Exactly. Yeah, but Abigail, I mean, Epcot's one of those parks where you're going to get your steps in, as Jim said. So make sure you wear comfortable shoes. Yeah, but I think the last couple hours the park is open, probably where it's at. So try that.
Okay.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim continues the history of Disney Parks 3D films with Magic Journeys. We'll be right back.
When evaluating potential hires for your small business, it's essential you look beyond resumes. Sure, a candidate may appear impressive on paper, but understanding the person is crucial. LinkedIn, the world's largest professional network, provides a complete view of your candidate's skills, experiences, and interests. With LinkedIn's up-to-date data, you can be confident that you really know who you're hiring. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, a holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
And we're back. All right, Jim. We had talked about on last week's show the creation of a 3D movie for Marineland?
Yes, we gave our listeners a homework assignment. They had to go seek out a film called Sea Dream that was shot for Marineland of Florida. That's the ocean park in St. Augustine, Florida. And this was made in 1978.
Yes. Jim, let me just say, halfway through this video, I got up to check to make sure my carbon monoxide detector was working because I was feeling lightheaded just watching it. Like, I'm looking at Laurel like, you're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing here, right?
Yeah, it is definitely a little trippy, but again, we wanted you folks to see that film before we talked about Magic Journeys. Again, opening day attraction at Epcot Center back in October of '82, and please note, it's Magic Journeys that was opening day, not Journey into Imagination, the ride that introduced Dreamfinder and Figment. In fact, that wouldn't open till 5 months later on March 3rd, 1983. And just to be clear here, Len, given a lot of the operational challenges that Epcot faced during its first month in operation. In fact, I was just reading the Sentinel's coverage for the first day, and they were talking about, for example, how, the soundtrack would cut out on Spaceship Earth. So people were riding the Omnivores and what am I looking at and why am I looking at this? The other issue they were having was, that the big fast food restaurant in Future World, which at that point was called Stargate.
Right, Electric Umbrella, but before it was Stargate.
There we go. And they were having communication problems between the actual purchase point and then the kitchen. And so people were waiting hours for burgers and people were not happy. So to just have one thing in the park that worked flawlessly, and that was Magic Journeys, was something that the exact Epcot management was forever grateful for. The fact of, okay, this thing was plug and play. But that said, it kind of an interesting story about how Epcot got a 3D movie, and that largely deals with Disney reaching out to Kodak in the late 70s about, hey, would you guys be interested in sponsoring an Epcot pavilion? And what ended up happening was, remember, in fact, we've talked about this on a previous Disney Dish early this year about how Kodak had been part of Disneyland right from 55, had its status as the official film of the Disney parks sniped out from under it by GAF in 1970. Then Polaroid came in 77 and did pretty much the same thing. And Kodak really, really missed being part of the Disney park.
Sure.
When they came around and asked about Kodak, possibly sponsoring a thing at Epcot, they were like, all right, yes, we are absolutely interested in this. But one of the terms and conditions of what we are doing, we want the inside track for when the official film of the Disney parks comes up and available again.
Oh, okay.
And that one, by the way, that wouldn't be till 84. It was a 7-year deal with Polaroid, but Disney going into the sponsorship deal, like, absolutely, we'll give you early notice and we'll get that set up. But the other thing that Kodak insisted upon was like, we're a film company. So we'd kind of like some aspect of this Future World pavilion to involve film. And the guys at Imagineering were like, well, okay, and tell you what, if you remember, Disneyland, in its second year of operation had that 3D movie thing in the Mickey Mouse Theater in Fantasyland. How would you feel about a brand new 3D movie? Again, that's film, okay, right?
So Kodak makes movie film too, not just commercial.
There we go.
Not just consumer grade. Yeah, they make film too, movie film.
Back in the day, yes, they did.
Okay.
All right. And Kodak's like, all right, that's an interesting idea. What exactly would this 3D film be about?
We're going to get back to you on that.
Well, no, that's it exactly.
The topic is imagination.
Yes, and that was
is it really?
And that's the thing. The executives in Rochester, it's like, could you be a little more specific about that?
It's happiness, yeah. America.
Yeah. So
the joy, the wonder of childhood. No, but seriously, can you be more specific about the amazing adventures of the mind? Yeah. Okay, we're going to need something a little more concrete than that.
There we go. And the other thing that Disney wasn't saying at this point was, we just promised a 3D movie, and you got to remember that these things were popular in the early 50s, and this is now.
Yeah, now it's like 1980.
and most of the people who actually worked on these things at the studio level and have either left the business or retired.
Right, because it was, again, 30 years ago. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
So Disney is now looking around. Well, who's working in this format, and can we reach out to them? And it's like, well, here's the thing: the most recent 3D films that have been made are all soft porn. There's the stewardesses and then Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, and it's like, oh no,
can you imagine an Andy Warhol film? In Epcot?
There we go.
By the way, have you been to the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh? It is amazing. It's really, really good.
Ooh, well, I have not, but on the other hand, early next year, you and I need to go to Philly to check out that Universal travel.
The other side of Pennsylvania, and I'm always up for a trip to Pittsburgh.
All right, let's look at that.
All right, so they're looking around for people who are actively working in 3D films. I imagine the list of names is pretty short.
And in fact, working, somebody that Disney could potentially work with that wouldn't necessarily have any blowback. One name, Marie Lerner.
It's a list of one.
A list of one. And again, this is the gentleman who made Sea Dream from Marineland back in '78.
There you go.
And Len, again, you were talking about watching this and conversing with Laurel. You did notice the weird parallels between Sea Dream and Magic Journeys. I mean, just the lionfish alone coming out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, exactly. Yeah. It's also it was interesting. It was a fairly long film for a theme park.
Oh yeah, 22 minutes. And in fact, what's interesting is that was one of the things. In fact, Marty Sklar sent Tony Baxter. He had him fly to St. Augustine and deliberately go to Marineland because it's like, I need somebody to eyeball this.
Right.
And Tony went and actually attended a couple of different shows of. In fact, they had it in this tells you all about the park at this. It was in the Aquarius Theater.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And so Tony, gets on the phone to Marty and says, look, based on what I saw, we can work with this guy. Maybe they could and maybe they couldn't. And we will get to what happened there after this break.
The Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th to January 2nd. For 18 years, Subaru and its retailers have supported over 2,700 local charities through the Share the Love event. When you purchase or lease a new vehicle during the 2025 Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru and its retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity. Visit Subaru.com/share to learn more.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
This is Jason Momoa, and I'll be your finance professor today. Welcome to Banking Smarter 101 with Chime. Bam! First lesson, sign up for Chime and set up direct deposit. You'll be joining millions of members banking fee-free. Second lesson, get cash back on eligible purchases while building credit and a higher APY on your savings. That's how you bank smarter this season. Fa-la-la-la-la, class dismissed. Join Chime today.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and a secure Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees-info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secure Chime Visa credit card purchases. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn about credit building and more at chime.com.
And we're back now. All right, so just to recap, folks, this is the Disney company in 1980. They've just signed a contract with Kodak. They have agreed, Kodak, the film company, has agreed to sponsor the Imagination Pavilion at Epcot Center. But one of the terms and conditions of this sponsorship deal is this Future World Pavilion must have an attraction of some kind that celebrates film. Disney proposes, let's do a brand new 3D film. They begin casting around, and they eventually find a filmmaker that they think they can work with, and that is 55-year-old documentarian Marie Lerner. Now, but to hear the folks at Imagineering talk, they picked the exact wrong moment to reach out to Murray because he had just that year, 1980, won an Academy Award for the Best Feature Documentary, From Mao to Mozart. All right, and you have to understand, this is a guy who had previously shot concert films with, like, The Who and Jimi Hendrix. And he's now, it's like, ooh,
Now he's expensive.
Yes, that's it,
all
exactly. Right. In fact, Disney reaches out to Lerner and says, hey, we'd like to talk with working with you for, possibly a new 3D film for the Disney parks. And Murray says, absolutely. But as we're negotiating this deal, I'd love to stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
And order room service three times a day. Yeah, sure. All right. It's the cost of doing business. It's fine.
There we go. Disney did comply. And again, not with a lot of enthusiasm, but again, now he's an Academy Award winner, and this gives a certain prestige to the project they're about to get underway on. And
sure.
But here's the thing: Imagineering already has a working script for Magic Journeys. They've even gone so far as to work up a full set of storyboards. And as Len mentioned earlier, going into this story is kind of a loose construct. They eventually settle on this sort of overarching concept of it's a series of vignettes that puts the viewers inside the imagination of a 10-year-old boy. And by the way, they deliberately designed this thing, Len, so it had an equal number of reach and flinch moments. And by the way, that's the specific language of 3D film production. I mean, the reach. Really? Yeah, a reach moment. For example, Mickey's PhilharMagic, when Ariel is singing "Part of Your World" and she opens, her box of gizmos and gadgets, and all those jewels float out over the audience. That's a reach moment. You see those things in your field of vision. You can't help yourself. You reach up. On the other hand, a flinch moment. Those of you who remember Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, that moment where suddenly the boa constrictor is not only on stage, but, reaches out and snaps at the audience and you sort of rear back and flinch. That's a flinch moment.
Got it. Okay.
All right. So anyway, Murray looks at the storyboards that Disney has prepared for Magic Journeys and supposedly tells them, well, look, these are nice. But I'm a filmmaker, and I've shot stuff at live events like the Newport Jazz Festival and the Isle of Wight, and often the very best stuff you get for a movie isn't something you plan in advance to shoot. So, rather it's something spontaneous that happens there on set. So would it be okay if I did some improv as we shoot Magic Journeys?
Oh, Jim, you got to tell me, like, the word improvisation just makes the folks at Disney makes their palms sweat.
Oh, right? No, that's it exactly. And again, if Disney had been truthful, they would have said no. It's like no.
Look, we like spontaneity as long as it is rigorously scheduled and controlled for.
There we go.
Like,
there we go. And you got to look at it from the Disney side of events. This is something for a theme park, so it's got to be, it's got to be a precise time because you want to get so many shows in an hour. Likewise, this is being made with Kodak money, so Disney has to go to the executives back in Rochester and tell them, all right, we're on schedule and we're hitting all of our marks and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But again, Murray's a brand new Academy Award winner, and there is literally nobody left in Hollywood who remembers how to make 3D movies anymore. So the Imagineers, they hedge. They're like, well, I guess a little improvisation. That wouldn't hurt it as long as you stick to the scripts and the storyboard. Anyway, Lerner is given a budget of $7 million to make Magic Journeys, though Len, half $500,000 of that amount is used just for the title sequence of that 3D movie.
Oh my God, it's the greatest Muppet movie ever made all over again.
There we go. But what was interesting is that if you remember, the Magic Journey, the letters that spell Magic Journeys come off the screen, float over the audience, and then circle back onto the screen. This was the very first time that CG had ever been used in a title sequence for a film. And in fact, that explains why, it was so expensive. It also explains why you see this very same piece of animation twice in Magic Journey.
We're going to use the hell out of it just to get our money's worth.
Well, that's the thing. when they told Card Walker how much of the, again, Card was the CEO of Disney at the time. He's like, oh God, the board's going to kill me. And it's like, it said, no, you have to use it twice. I have to have something to placate them. It's like, it begins and ends,
It's only $500,000 per use. It's barely $20,000 per letter.
There we go. But anyway, now if we go to the actual film shoot, he's doing so much experimentation on set that production of this 3D movie of Magic Journeys has fallen behind schedule, and this is making WDA management squirm. And remember, that what's in the back of WDA's mind is they already know that Journey into Imagination, the ride, is 5 and 6 months behind schedule, and it's like, so they absolutely cannot miss Epcot's opening date for the 3D movie.
Because they've got sponsors.
Oh, yeah. So very quietly, the conversations at 1401 Flower Street are like, do we fire him? Do we get somebody else? And is there someone else out there who could take over and bring this 3D film in on time? And at a very crucial moment, when all this conversation is going on, there's a work in progress screening of Magic Journeys, and everybody in Glendale, sits down in a screening room, and they get to see that scene from the opening of this 3D movie where the golden bird-shaped kite comes off the screen and floats over the audience.
Yeah, that's for a lot of us, that was our first really professional look at 3D movie making, right?
That's it, exactly. And that's the thing, that you have this room full of themed entertainment professionals who are sitting there, and the thing comes off the screen, and they all know it's 3D, and they still all reach out for it. And they're like, oh, God damn it.
Can't fire him now.
Can't fire him now.
This guy, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so it's like, it's all right. And so, though, that said, not to say they were entirely happy with him and they didn't try to utz him now and then. In fact, Mark Eads, former Imagineer, also used to write wonderful stuff for the Orange County Register. He told the story about how the tech crew at WDI used to screw with Lerner. That's the only way to describe it. He would come into the production booth to sign off on individual shots for the film, and they would deliberately hand him a set of 3D glasses that had two left lenses. So it would be
like two red or two blue.
That was the thing.
He's like, it's funny.
And it's just the thing of, oh my God, these aren't working. And everyone would snicker, and it's like, all right, here's your real glasses. But here's the thing. I don't know if pranks like that are what contributed to Magic Journey's late delivery, because things got down to the wire, Len. I mean,
Oh, really?
I once got to interview the projectionist who worked in the booth at the Imagination Pavilion in Future World, and what he told me.
Wait, didn't you used to be a movie projectionist, right?
Well, that's the thing.
Did you guys talk shop?
We did. I mean, that's it. And what was interesting is that the film, they didn't use reels, they didn't use platters, they used these giant bins, which the film went into the bins, and that evidently prevented the film from being scratched. It was a wonderful time up in the booth. But anyway, long story short, this guy told me that again, the initial print of Magic Journeys that was screened in the Imagination Pavilion on October 1st had been flown overnight straight from a film lab in LA. In fact, did
it smell like a mimeograph machine?
That's it, exactly. He opened it, and it's like, first of all, the print was still wet. All right, that's how it had been pulled out of the chemical baths that close.
Okay, so hold on. So it's got the chemicals on it still. This guy, this projectionist, is in the booth with the film. Yeah. The chemical smell. He's probably huffing he probably had the best memory of that film. Like, oh God, this thing is talking to me directly, man. He probably didn't even need the 3D glasses to see the effects at that point.
I'm seeing colors.
Exactly.
All right. But anyway, also should share, I did also get to talk with Dick Sherman at one point about the theme song for Magic Journeys.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing, Len. He talked about when they got the assignment, they were literally told, we want the theme song for Magic Journeys to sound like, did you remember the song from the 60s, The Windmills of Your Mind?
Oh yeah, okay. It's got the same sort of tempo, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna find this. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, but that, by the way, was the theme song for the Thomas Crown Affair, Steve McQueen movie that came out in '68, and actually charted. It made the number 3 spot on the adult contemporary charts for Billboard, and then went on to win that year's Academy Award for Best Song. So,
who was the original singer for that?
I want to say Michael Legrand, but that may have been the French version of the song. Anyway. Okay. All right. So just to review, you have Murray Lerner, an Academy Award winner directing Magic Journeys, and you have Academy Award winning Sherman Brothers being told when they get the assignment to write the theme song to deliberately make Magic Journeys theme song sound like The Windmill of the Mind, which is also an Academy Award winning song. So, just when this particular project for EPCOT, there is a lot of emphasis on don't just make this thing good, make this Academy Award winning level. But Len, the irony here is that if we jump ahead 5 years and it's now time to make Captain EO, the powers that WDI is like, whatever you do, don't hire Murray Lerner again. I mean, that guy. Ugh.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's just the whole.
Aww.
Well, no, but here's the kicker, Len. All right. So what did they do? So who did they hire to direct Disney's next 3D movie? Again, Academy Award winner.
Hold on. They want someone easier to work with, right?
Yes.
Someone who can take direction from the studio and deliver exactly what the studio wants, no questions asked, right? That's their thought.
There we go. Which is why, of course,
who do they go with?
Francis Ford Coppola. All right.
Fresh off of Apocalypse Now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And the guy,
of course, yes. That's where I go straight to. When I think of the word compliant in Hollywood, yeah, Francis Ford Coppola. That's who comes up first. Exactly. Yeah.
and this is why Captain EO, which, by the way, was originally budgeted to just cost $10 million, just, $3 million more than Magic Journeys, winds up costing $40 million.
Yeah. You know what? Like you guys have taught Murray a lesson here that he is not soon to forget. I am sure. That'll show him.
There we go. But that's
holy cow.
That's a story for another time. But anyway, as Len mentioned, just to watch both Sea Dream and Magic Journey today, and just how trippy they are. I mean,
yeah.
And again, what's fascinating to me, when's the last time you saw something in a Disney theme park that was that long that didn't have a single bit of Disney IP in it? I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, we're never going to get films like that again. I mean, not under any current or future management that we can envision, right? Just a pure concept play.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean, those were the days, yeah. But I mean, the funny thing is like, we all remember that film, right? Everybody that's listening remembers that film, and it was great because it was so experimental and so innovative, right?
It was.
Sometimes you got to swing for the fences, yeah.
No, definitely. But at the same time, rewatching it just recently, it's like, oh yeah, the Sphinx. Oh yeah, the Mesoamerican head. And then it's like, oh my God, the clowns. Just sort of like, hey, okay.
I forgot about the clowns.
I forgot about the clowns.
Yeah. So Fantastic film. Yeah. I'd love to see them bring it back, just like, for a special 6-month run.
Would be interesting. But again, this is the Disney company, and we were just talking about, what 3D film just came into the parks, but Zootopia, Better Zoogether,
Yeah, still doing bonkers numbers. That's good.
Well, good to hear.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia. We're posting exclusive shows every week. Our latest show is a live walk through the future of Disney's Animal Kingdom with me, Jim, and Jim Scholl. There's a link in the show notes. Also, we mentioned that on his YouTube channel, Jim Scholl tells stories about Disney Imagineer legend Eddie Sato. So check it out on Jim Scholl's Disney Journey channel on YouTube. There's a link in the show notes. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. And we're both on The Case 4 with Chris Cox, a new podcast where Chris, Jim, and I debate one theme park topic at a time, such as whether snack credits on the Disney dining plan are useful. So check it out there. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Kersey and David Gray, giving lessons on how to play Orange Blossom Special and Molly and Tenbrooks at the 5th annual Fiddlin' at the Fairgrounds Old Time Bluegrass and Gospel Competition on Thursday, January 18th, 2026 at the Martha Washington Inn and Spa. I think George also slept there. That's on Main Street in beautiful downtown Abington, Virginia. While Eric and David are doing that, please go on to iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.
Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on a never spinning reel. Like a snowball down a mountain or a carnival balloon, like a carousel that's turning, running rings around the moon. Like a clock whose hands are sweeping past the minutes of its face, and the world is like an apple whirling silently in space, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.